Hey, DOOLigans, Mr. DOOLigan here. Welcome to another episode of Dishin with DOOLigan, ep.7. I'm going to send out my tweet now to hopefully I can get some questions via Twitter or some comments so I can answer on the air. So I'm going to send that out now. All right, good. So we got that set. So let's get started with the episode. So we pick up where we left off yesterday at the police station. Actually, I take that back. We didn't pick up where we start off the episode at the hospital, where Philip is there and he's visiting Victor, and he approaches Victor, and Victor calls him over, and he tells Philip that he forgives him for all the things that Philip has done. He's saying that family is the most important thing, and therefore he forgives all his transgressions. And after that, Victor goes into the machines start going crazy. So there's something happening with Victor, and then all of a sudden Philip wakes up. So obviously this is a dream, but he wakes up because there is actually something wrong with Victor. There's a little scare. He has a lack of oxygen, but don't worry, everything's fine. He's okay. He's stable condition now. So then we cut to the police station, and of course the prom gang is there, and all their parents, or majority, of course, Jade's parents aren't there. And so the judge is there. He's kind of like scolding everybody about what happened. And, Ciara tries to take the blame for everything. She's like, don't, uh, don't punish everybody else. Punish me. It was all me. And then, of course, Claire comes out. She's like, no, it was all me. And then, Joey's like, no, it was all me. So everybody's trying to take the blame for themselves. The only one person that didn't do it was Jade. She's like, yeah, what they said. She's not gonna get into any more trouble that, for her parents to rag her about. And then, so after that, Theo was like, no, 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 you guys don't need to be doing that. And Theo tries to call out Mark in front of his father about, well, why don't you ask your son of what he did to Ciara in order for, this to happen. But it was funny because Hope, like everybody was trying to stop him from saying something. I don't know if it was actually Hope or Ciara, but they like stopped him because they didn't want. I don't know why. I mean, it was just weird. And then what I was thinking is like, why doesn't Ciara like speak up, and why didn't she press charges on Mark for assaulting her, because he like jumped on her, tried to kiss her, and that would have been a perfect way to be like, well, your son assaulted me to begin with. That hence why he has those bruises on his face. But then I also thought, well, then charges are probably gonna have to be pressed on Theo for beating Mark up. So I don't know. Maybe that's why they're not saying anything. So after that, they take him away to go get booked. And so this whole time I'm thinking, why isn't Theo in that group? Well, so happens Theo says that Ciara didn't tell him that they were going to go do this. So somewhere in between the scowling from last episode, they went outside, I guess. Didn't tell Theo. Maybe he went to the bathroom. Maybe he went to go get some punch. And they went out and vandalized Mark's car. And so Theo's like, the only reason why I'm not there with them is because they didn't tell me. If they did, I would have been right there with them. And so Theo kind of like spills the beans about what happened at prom, as far as like, they were voted prom king queen, and then this weird whack ass video pops up on the screen, and that's why they did what they did. So they kind of have an idea what happened, but they don't know exactly how it all started. So then we cut to Belle and Sean, because Sean pulls Belle aside, and he wants to talk about Claire. And so they go into an office, and they start bickering about Claire, and how Belle's like blaming Ciara for it, but Sean is putting the blame on Claire, which is great because she's a big girl, she knows what she's doing, but Belle's trying to like deflect and putting the blame on Ciara. I mean, if only Hope can hear that. But it was just like they were just bickering back and forth. So it was a good argument, but it was alright. It was just repetitive, because obviously they've always argued about Claire before, about who's the better parent, who should be looking over who, and stuff like that. And then we cut out to Abe and Hope, and Abe is having this really intense conversation with Hope, and basically his idea that he's trying to come across is that he wants to break up Theo and Ciara. He's trying to tell Hope in a very nice way, like, Theo's not ready for this. They should see less of each other. And of course, Hope is against this because, Theo is a good thing for Ciara. And, she's like trying to build, defend Ciara and say, well, Ciara's like, they've been best friends since they were young. Ciara like stood up for Theo, but Abe is just still being the hard ass that he is, and doesn't want them to be together, which is like making me not like Abe even more, because I'm like all for hashtag Theara. And then so we cut to the jail cell, and the whole prom gang is there, and Claire's just trying to be positive, and she's talking to Ciara and telling her, everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry, blah blah blah. And then we cut to outside of the jail. So Kayla kind of mentions to Hope that, well, first she ran off to say, I'm gonna go tell Steve. Then she comes back and says she's not gonna tell Steve, because she wants to put off his anger. And I'm like, he's gonna be even more upset knowing that you didn't tell him. But whatever, that's the writer's thing. And then so after all this is happening, Lori approaches Sean and tells him, hey, Roman called, we need to go on this prostitution ring stakeout. So she's like, if you're not cool with it, I can just ask somebody else. And he's like, no, I'll go with you, take my mind off of it. So they run off to the sleazy hotel room to do this stakeout. And then we cut to Belle in Horton Square, and she's calling Justin because she obviously needs advice for what's going on with the kids. And then after she hangs up with him, she calls Philip. And Philip's obviously still at the hospital, and he tells Belle what happened to Victor, how he had that scare with the lack of oxygen. And then, so she's like, I really need to see you. And he's like, what's up? And she's like, I want to see you at your hotel room. I really need to talk. I don't want to talk over the phone. So after that, we cut to Rafe and Hope back at the police station. And Rafe is like, he sees his in again, and he tries to go to Hope and tries to comfort her and talk to her and, trying to be the good white knight that he is. But, Hope is kind of preoccupied right now and doesn't want to like deal with any of this, or not really listening to Rafe. But, Rafe is just trying to be the good guy. And then we cut back to the jail cell with the prom kids in there. And Claire's still trying to comfort Ciara, saying, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. We got your back. What Mark did to you was horrible, and that's why we're here for you. And then after that, they cut to Jade and Joey. They kind of like reference them being like a Romeo and Juliet, because Claire quotes Shakespeare. And Jade and Joey have like their hands interlocked in between the jail cells, and Joey's comforting Jade and saying, I know you're a hard ass, but I know you're just a big softy inside. That's why you were with us, and you came along with us and helped us defend Ciara, which was kind of a little good touching moment. And then after we go back to that sleazy hotel room with Sean and Lonnie, and they're there and they're talking about this whole prostitution ring and what's going on, and it's kind of like a lame scene until you start hearing sex noises next door, the hotel room, and Lonnie's like, does that sound like a business transaction? And Sean's like, no, it's just people having sex. And then like Lonnie turns to him and like she's like, ooh, that sounds kind of hot. And so she's like getting turned on by other people having sex, which was kind of weird, but we don't know what twisted mind is in Lonnie's head. And then we cut over to the hospital, and actually Deimos makes a visit to Victor's hospital room. And Victor wakes up and he looks at him and he kind of rolls his eyes like, oh crap, what's going to go on now? What do I have to deal with now? And then we cut back to the jail cell, and Hope's visiting Ciara and telling him that they're going to have to stay in jail for the night because they're not going to be arraigned until tomorrow. So she's kind of giving a little speech to Ciara and telling her, you know what, I understand what happened, but for you taking revenge like that is not a good way to handle the problem. and she's kind of hinting that she knows from experience because of the whole Deimos thing. Like she wants to take revenge on Deimos, but she wants to focus on family first because she already has a lot on her plate. So she doesn't. She like inadvertently tells Ciara, revenge is not a good path to go when something goes wrong. And then we cut back to Deimos and Victor at the hospital, and Deimos is starting to talk to Victor about Nicole and how he's onto her plan, or he thinks he's onto her plan because Victor kind of deflects and was like, "Yeah, I told her about that plan, but she denied me." So he's kind of like feeding or playing into the story that Nicole has already set up. And then Deimos kind of brings up like, yeah, because your first attempt with Philip was kind of lame. So he's like, so if you're trying to do this with Nicole, I'm not going to let any woman, come between us or distract me again. But yet that's what Kate's doing. So I don't know. And then we cut to Philip and Belle, and they're in his hotel room, and they're like having like this heated exchange as far as like sexual and passion, and they're kissing and ripping each other's clothes off, and she's kissing his chest, and and all this is going on. But the thing is, I don't want to say couldn't get into it, but it wasn't I wasn't in the moment. It's like, oh, this is so cool, like they're all hot and heavy, because the writers or whoever decided to play some cheesy knockoff wannabe Melissa Etheridge song in the background, like "Come to my window," and it was like, no, it was like so stupid, and I just started laughing. Like I couldn't even deal with that. And then so we cut to back to the hospital, and Victor is there with Victor and Deimos. Deimos is still there, and basically Deimos tells Victor. I mean, this is like a little commercial cliffhanger. Deimos tells Victor, Victor's like, okay, you've taken everything. You've taken my money. You uh, messed up Maggie. You've done all this stuff. What else? What are you really here for? What do you want? What else do you want? And Deimos tells him, like, I just want to let you know that I forgive you. And of course, boom, cut to a commercial. And then we come back, and this is going to be like a what the fuck moment. I'm sorry, WTF moment. It cuts back to the gang in jail. And as I'm watching this scene, my roommate walks into the room, and because he kind of like follows the show with me, but like inadvertently, like he just like walks past. So he kind of knows what's going on. He's familiar with the characters. So he walks into this scene where they're all in jail, and Claire's singing one of her little sad, sappy songs. And this goes on for a while. I mean, it wasn't like a short song. This went on for a while. And I'm all this time thinking like, oh, poor little rich kids in jail. They're all in their prom dresses, blah, blah, blah. Poor, wham, wham, wham. And then my roommate makes a comment. He's like, what are you watching, Glee? Like, are they going to break out into song now? Are they all going to start dancing? It's like, don't stop believing. And it's like, it was just so cheesy because it just went on for so long. I mean, it was like a good 2-3 minutes that Claire's singing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so stupid. And then so finally we cut away from that, and then we're at the end of the episodes, and so they're like kind of like wrapping up all the storylines for this particular episode. And so Belle is in the bed with Philip, and they finish having sex, and Philip's comforting Belle about Sean blaming her for Claire, blah blah blah. And she ends the whole scene ends with Belle asking Philip for his hand in marriage. So that was kind of weird. And then we cut to back to the jail cell, and Jade's trying to comfort Ciara. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe she sees a little bit of Ciara with like their two little bad girls, so maybe they're gonna become besties. I don't know. And then Hope gets a call from the scary robot voice, telling her that she still needs to pursue Deimos. So Hope freaks out. And at the end of the episode, the last scene, we cut back to Deimos and Victor, and Victor is telling Deimos, I'm still blaming you for Helena's death. And, if it wasn't for you, she wouldn't be on that cliff. And then if she wasn't on that cliff, she wouldn't have fallen down and, hit her head and died. So there's another little more piece of the story. Like, why was Victor and Helena on that cliff arguing? So maybe we'll find out a little bit later on. And then the last thing after that, like Deimos like flips out because he's coming here to forgive Victor, and Victor's still blaming him for his death, when obviously Deimos didn't kill Helena. So he just like flips out, and he rips off the oxygen hose from Victor, and he like totally suffocating Victor with his hand, and he's like, why don't you just leave this earth and da da da, and I'll meet you up there and da da da. So he's like totally suffocating Victor, and that's where the episode cuts out. So it was kind of good. Today was a good episode for somewhat, minus the prom gang and the Glee moments, but it was pretty good. So you let me know. I didn't get any tweets or comments today, but it's cool. Not a problem. We'll try that again tomorrow. You guys let me know what you thought of the episode. Let me know what you think of my episodes. Leave it on the comments below. Give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down. Like I said, showing progress. Any kind of constructive criticism is definitely welcomed. So you guys, if you have any questions later on in the day, you can definitely tweet me at Mr. DOOLigan, and I'll definitely answer your questions. If you have any comments about the show, want my feedback on certain episodes, if you haven't seen it yet or you're just watching it, I'll definitely give you my feedback. So you guys have a great day, or great afternoon, or great night, however you're watching this, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace, love, and days. Bye. Woo.